Welcome everyone to Wrestling is Cool, the coolest wrestling podcast on the planet. Sancho, this is the GOAT episode. Can you guess why this is the GOAT episode?
Why is it the GOAT episode?
Because it's episode number 23 of Wrestling is Cool. Michael Jordan. LeBron James. Buddy, we are here. Hey. We've made it. We're greatness. We're here.
And Santi, you stumbled on the new segment, Stump Santi. It is the Guess the Wrestler in 30 seconds. You have not been told about this. 30 seconds on the clock. Are you ready? One, two, three, go.
Male wrestler.
Yes.
Active right now.
No.
Okay, are they a Hall of Famer?
No.
Are they fictional?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are they from a movie?
No. 15 seconds.
Firefly Funhouse?
No.
TV show?
No.
WWE?
9 seconds. Yes, kinda.
Kinda.
5 seconds.
Undertaker's
no
wife? I don't know, dude. Dude, this is so unfair.
Final guess.
Okay, a fictional something from the WWE.
Yeah.
Give me Sister Abigail.
And it is Drake the Snake Roberts, baby.
Oh,
you were so close yet so far.
Dude, John Cena, that John Cena Instagram, when he says these Instagram posts are there for your interpretation. We knew what that one was. When there was no interpretation, there was a very, very clear motive with a very clear interpretation that Cena was going for.
Just wanted to start off Wrestling is Cool, a little spice this today, just to get the blood flowing for you, Santi.
Oh, I mean, like the blood was already flowing, man. We're in the road to WrestleMania. This press conference is getting absolutely bananas. Wrestling is just in the mouths of everyone, it seems. We're going to be talking more about the press conference. Last week's episode of Wrestling is Cool is currently our most listened to episode on YouTube, and I think it was because of the press conference. We want to thank you.
I thought it was because of me, but okay.
No, it's not. But if you listen to that episode on YouTube, you realize that it was way too late. You caught it after the press conference. We didn't even get to talk about the press conference. So if you want to get the most up-to-date episode of Wrestling is Cool, make sure that you're checking out the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where you're going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone on the planet. Unfortunately, if you listen to it on YouTube, you're just getting this late version, man. It's just not as good.
Day old bread.
Dale bread, thoughts on it? Because I think
I don't trust it.
You don't trust? Okay.
I don't trust anything 2 days old max.
Oh, I'm 2 days. Okay. There's no exceptions for anything old. Okay. No, what about fridge pizza?
Never.
Really? If you have,
I could go get another pizza.
There's something to be said about reheated pizza that I just don't think you can capture that magic.
I mean, you could air fry it, sure. It'll bring a little bit of spunk back, but I'm of the mind that, here's the thing, Santi. For those of you who don't know, I'm a host and caster for a variety of things, and not only is my job is to stay on point, but it's to stay healthy. And I don't want to, pay the price. You know what I mean? I can't pay it twice.
I understand what you're saying. So
yes,
you would prefer to throw out the calories the day that 1 day or 2 days later for the sake of not committing the sin again of eating the pizza, so that you can stay in tip-top shape for your casting. The Streamer Bowl, which you were a part of last week.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. Streamer Bowl 5.
What was that like?
It was cool, man. There was a lot of moments, for those of you who know, it was where they brought streamers and NFL stars. And, being quickly it was in Vegas, so I was part of the Super Bowl hubbub and the WrestleMania presser hubbub. Yeah, I saw a banner in the MGM Grand for the presser. It was kind of crazy to see, surreal. I wish I was able to go to the presser because it happened at the same time as Super Bowl. But we had big NFL stars, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, will you try to say twice, and then Trevor Lawrence, and they were all mixing with the Twitch folks that you may know of, like the Will Neffs of the world and the Tyler ones. So it was a fun mix. It's a fun time, man. The one thing in this show is it's only 3 hours, so you have to get in, get out. You have to nail it, and you have to stick the landing. When it comes to live events, since I have a theater background, I rarely get nervous, but for those kinds of things, you just got to be ready. My favorite moments are just sitting on the stage getting ready with music. It's kind of like it's performing, man, in front of an audience, in front of a Twitch audience. So it's kind of fun.
It'd be cool if WWE did something with Twitch. I mean, they have
I would
that kind
love
of
it,
deal
dude.
where, but it's not really a deal where wrestlers are able to stream on Twitch. It'd be cool
It'd
if
be
they really leaned
amazing.
into it.
WrestleMania weekend, we go in there with Twitch, and we could do like a streamer bowl for wrestling. I think because with Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed, aka the Commission of Kind of Funny, you could kind of get away with that because he would be the one person you go to, and he would bring all the wrestlers that are down for gaming. But I think the only thing about Twitch is like the best part of Twitch is when it's, sadly enough, when it's not about gaming as much. It's seeing people in their own active environment in a different place. But like I said, I wish I could be at the presser. I mean, I wanted to go so badly, but it started right when my show started. So you may have not seen it because all eyes are on that presser, man.
Was there buzz in Vegas for that presser? I'm very curious because obviously there's so much going on in Vegas because of the Super Bowl, or did it just get lost in the mix of the craziness of Super Bowl weekend for the average folk?
That's a good question. I feel because it's Vegas, Vegas always has something going on. There's always a conference. There's always like some weird off-brand, weird company that's having a conference. There was a conference for technology that was in the same as the MGM. Like I said, there was that one banner, but mainly it was the Super Bowl people. I mean, NFL people walk around with their jerseys and stuff. So I would say the Super Bowl dominated that. But if you took away the banners and all the jerseys and stuff, you would think it's just a normal Vegas day, honestly. I mean, granted, I was not around the T-Mobile. I didn't go to the T-Mobile Arena, but if you were looking at a map, it's the T-Mobile Arena, and then across the street is the Allegiant Stadium, and then you have the MGM Park, which is an auditorium. So it's all like bunched together, and so it was, since it was closer to the Super Bowl area or the big game. I don't want to get copyright strike. You would say that it was mainly Super Bowl related. But what frustrates me the most is when I do a show, I'm like walking around, getting ready. I'm doing LA Knight isms. I'm doing acknowledge me's and stuff like that, and no one's hip to it in the Twitch world. Like, you know what I mean? It's not there yet. Wrestling's everywhere now, but for some reason, Twitch is late to the party.
That's embarrassing, man. Yelling out some yes and then not getting a yeah back from anyone. Somebody just yells back, "Shut up!"
Dude, I was just be like, dude, in the LA, no one, man. No, if wrestling is there, but you need to be like near wrestling type venues. And what I mean is like an amusement park, like one of those carnivals, those kind of things. Like that's where I get recognized the most. I don't know if you've been recognized before running out and about. But at wrestling events, that's when people go like, "Oh, hey man, you're Sancho West. I've seen you on TikTok and I've seen you on your streams." Like that's the only place I get recognized, that outside of video game conventions.
Yeah, that for me, it's wrestling shows. At wrestling shows, it's like it's a lot. It's pretty often. Like that makes sense to me. But then anywhere outside of that, it's like once in a blue moon where it might happen. Like at TwitchCon, it happened a few times, but really,
Nice.
like you said, I think there is this weird separation of wrestling culture in I don't know, what would the other culture be? Gaming culture, or I don't know, just
pop culture,
entertainment. Yeah, pop culture in general.
Entertainment. This is not the 80s where wrestling was the thing, or even the Attitude Era, but I think what the presser did, which was, from what I saw, was the most watched like combative presser of all time. I think it's blending those lines, and I think that is a credit to The Rock. And I think no one is going to want to give him due. And we mentioned this before in the other podcast, is that The Rock is pushing this entire WrestleMania 40 to another stratosphere, and no one's going to give him credit because they don't want him to get the credit. Because
it's him though. It is 1,000% him. We would not be, obviously us wrestling fans. Let's say CM Punk didn't get injured. Let's say we were still just going down the regular road to WrestleMania that we were originally gonna go down when we kind of looked at the landscape in December, and it just looked like the greatest WrestleMania ever. Yes, we would all be hyped. Yes, we would all be talking about it. But The Rock has brought a new audience a new type of conversation, a conversation that is worth having with people like my girlfriend that doesn't that doesn't watch wrestling. She'll be like, so why does everyone hate The Rock right now? Why is everyone talking about The Rock? I'm seeing all of this stuff popping up on my social media feed. She doesn't watch wrestling in any capacity, and yet we have non-wrestling fans asking questions and wanting to potentially dip their toes to learn more about what happened with The Rock. Because then what did I do? I immediately showed her those like a 3-minute compilation of the press conference, and she's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, oh, I didn't know The Rock was mean. I was like, oh, buddy, you don't even know. Just wait till we get the full-blown Hollywood Rock. But this is getting so many people that wouldn't have regularly paid attention paying attention to WrestleMania.
Question.
Yes.
As a podcast here, as a community wrestling school, and in the comments down below, we need to figure out what is this version of The Rock called. Now, I saw on the Bloodline TikTok that The Rock was giving when you had his slides and everything.
His PowerPoint presentation looking like jacked Steve Jobs out there.
He is the high chief. Like in real life, he is a high chief in the Bloodline. Is it too, I don't want culturally inappropriate to call him the high chief as the heel here? Like, because Roman's the tribal chief and he's the high chief. Is that what we could call this version of heel Rock, high chief Rock?
I don't know what the vernacular is in Samoan Polynesian culture. Makes sense to it be a title above the tribal chief. Like you said, I don't know what that title is, and I know exactly what you're going for, because he does feel like the final boss of this situation, which is fascinating because I feel like he went in and we thought he was going to be the shoehorn hero, and he came out being the a Soulsborne boss. You know, like what I was trying to explain to somebody that's into gaming in this, and I was like, imagine, you know, you're taking out Roman Reigns, and you hit him. You know, that's the end of his health bar, video game style, and then epic music plays, and then the health bar regenerates, and he turns into The Rock. This is where we are now, where he is the final boss. He has to be some sort of title ahead of Roman Reigns. That's obviously, I don't know what that title is, but I get the sentiment you're going for, and I agree with it.
Like chairman of the board Rock, CEO Rock, boss Rock.
You mentioned, you know, CEO Rock, Chairman Rock. Do you think that they bring those real life power dynamics into this storyline? Because obviously Triple H has been the chief content officer on screen and off screen, right? When they do those press, dude, that's so such a fake title. I agree with you. I so agree with you. They call him that when he's coming out to the ring.
Chief content creator for my YouTube channel.
They call him the chief content officer when he's coming out to the ring, at press conferences, and just about everything that he does on screen and off screen. They refer to him as that. The Rock, at least as of the making of this video, they haven't on WWE TV properly used his title of board of directors of TKO just yet. They've alluded to it with it doesn't matter where you sit, which could be sitting at the board of directors, sitting at the head of the table. Depends on how you interpret it. Triple H mentioning that people have this perception of power that they don't actually have. So they're starting to perhaps plant the seeds for this board of directors Rock, as you referred to him as. How deep do you think we get with the blurring of the lines of real life power dynamics versus on-screen power dynamics?
I saw a lot of comments on the Presser's YouTube channel in general on the socials where people are like, this feels real. Like, I've been watching wrestling for a long time and this presser felt real because you didn't understand where that line ended. Granted, I know The Rock later in a social post saying he is playing a heel and da-da-da-da-da, but at the end of the day, I think as wrestling fans, especially on the Wrestling is Cool, who, you know, the people out there that listen know that he is playing a heel, right? We all know that. Of course, kids may not know that, but at this level, it's still real to me. And I think that when it comes to it all, I think they have to deep dive into this. It's a new authority angle. It's a fresh take on the authority. And it's so bizarre to me that you would tell me years ago that the authority of Triple H with Seth Rollins would be a face authority.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Like, what does this mean? Is this like, it feels like when I used to work a 9 to 5 and my manager would be like, I don't, man, it's the regional manager, man. This is what they want. And then it's like, the regional
It's you
manager,
versus corporate.
right? You go to
two
the
versus
regional
corporate.
manager, and it's like, I don't know, man. This is what the executive CEO wants. And then you get to the final, like you mentioned, the final boss, and it's just like, you know, someone who's oblivious to the entire situation, has no idea what's happening down below. But I think what's interesting is this is the reason why it's ringing a little bit true. And I think it's another, like, what I love about wrestling and what makes wrestling is cool is that there's layers. There could be layers to promos and layers to angles. And for the longest time, we've got a little bit of deeper layer, like maybe 2 or 3. But the very, like, lava layer of this storyline is Americans versus corporate. The working man who's full-time, clocking in and out, grinding, doing 2 jobs, going against corporate America, the billionaires that are just not there. They're part-timers. They show up when they want to, and they get all the success, and they get all the whatever. And I think that's what's kind of the underlying thing that's kind of gestating here. And I think it's going to hopefully, what makes wrestling is cool is that we get to see it play out. And that's what made Austin versus Vince so cool, because it was the blue collar working man going up against the boss. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? We could stun our own boss type of vibe. But this is kind of interesting because it's going to like the what's those shows on HBO? The shows about these wealthy Wall Street people and whatnot. God, it's gonna bother me. I gotta look it up now. But it's those kind of vibes.
Succession.
Like yes,
yeah,
that's what they could be. And I think what The Rock brings to the table is he has been involved in those kind of type shows. Like think of Ballers, you know, those kind of things. And I think he brings that to the table. And if they could have that kind of nuanced writing, I think you're gonna get something special for beyond WrestleMania 40.
I want to say this, and I want to make sure the world knows. I still think it's utter and complete BS that anyone can sit here and tell me that the original Friday Night SmackDown of the cuckening of Cody Rhodes was planned. There's no way, after seeing Cody Rhodes all of a sudden shift gears without explanation, right? Of like, oh, here you go, Rock, take Roman Reigns, you know, not at WrestleMania. And then literally 6 days later, just kidding, Roman, I do want to face you at WrestleMania. And they didn't explain the gap of how we got from A to Z, and people online reporting that like, no, this was WWE's plan all along. No way. I maybe will buy the narrative that this was their end goal, a heel Rock, but there's no way that this was their plan of how to get there. The We Want Cody movement, if it didn't change plans, maybe this was still where they were planning on going. It definitely accelerated them, and it definitely forced WWE to get to the next point of the story where they were wanting to go as soon as possible. And if it meant creating that plot hole of Cody Rhodes self-cucking himself, then so be it. But I am happy with the end result, but there's no way that any of this is planned. What is interesting, you know, when we're talking about this power dynamic, this weird transition from that terrible episode of SmackDown to the press conference weirdly kind of adds to this unknown power dynamic of where does real start and where does it end, because there were reports, again, and this is for the hardcore like me and you, that was a Rock and TKO decision that went above Triple H's head. That's what every news outlet was reporting. Which to me, now when I look at things, and if they plan on actually using The Rock's power, real life TKO power, in stories and in narratives, then that's where the lines are blurred for people that are in the hardcore like me and you that could typically predict what's a work and what isn't. Because now, because of what happened earlier with The Rock actually exerting some sort of power over Triple H, anytime that this happens where something great happens for The Rock, or something that we're like, this is just not very Triple H like, we're going to start to wonder, was that a Rock and TKO decision, or was that a Triple H decision making us believe that it's a TKO decision? Is this a work? Is this real? And that is fascinating because we haven't seen this type of dynamic before, because we've seen We've seen power struggles in WWE storytelling before. Team Teddy Long versus Team Laurinaitis. We've seen Shane McMahon and Vince McMahon. The contract does say McMahon. It says Shane McMahon. So these power dynamics and power struggles in WWE storytelling has been there for a very long time. But people like the me, yous, and the people that are listening, we know that it all ran through one guy. It was all Vince, always Vince. Now we can't actually say that. We don't know necessarily who has made this call. Was this a Triple H call? Was this a Rock call? Was this a TKO call? I made a video about this where I talked about potentially creating some sort of narrative of team authority versus team board of directors, because I would doubt that they would ever use the word TKO in the same vein as a villain. Right. But I think board of directors would be such a cool faceless organization. And if you have played Metal Gear before, there's a faceless organization called the Patriots. I feel like it could be something similar to that, where there's this just overlooming power above Triple H that could make us believe are actually pulling the strings, which makes me not know what's a work, what's real, where am I being played? And that to me makes me ridiculously excited, because I haven't seen this before ever.
Does they appear in a form of a laptop on a podium?
Oh God, let's not do that again.
God. Okay, I agree with you, and I think there's two sides to this coin here that the statement I'm about to say. We are fortunate that Triple H is the guy representing the good of the face authority, because he actually could do promos, and he actually has a better presence than anyone in the past, besides like Vince and then the authority thought that vibe. I'm talking about like the Teddy Longs and the Laurinaitis and things like that. This is a better type of, you wouldn't want this person in this driver's seat to headlong that, but it is unfortunate that Triple H cannot get physical in the ring. I do predict sometime on the road to WrestleMania that someone will get their hands on Triple H, and it's going to be The Rock. And I think The Rock is just going to be a slapping guy. He's going to be like a Will Smith out there. He's going to go after Cody. He's going to hit Triple H. And I think he's going to get his hands on Triple H, and they're going to sell a little bit of the angle of the heart here for Triple H, and it's going to get mega heat on The Rock. You talk about blurring the lines, that will blur the line completely of The Rock going to be like, I told you to fix it, and he's going to slap Triple H, and then Triple H cannot fight him back because of his condition. And, that's just the best heel thing to do in this situation. When it comes to wrestling, Santi, I always go for what's the most impactful thing that they can do here. That's when I thought about, Sami Zayn versus Nakamura on Monday Night Raw. I was like, Sami has to lose. It makes perfect sense for Sami to be on this massive L streak to the next PLE. So in this situation, Triple H has to continue to he needs to get some shine on him. The heel Rock needs to grow bigger. He needs to get more physical, and he needs to abuse his quote unquote power in this situation. But I have to say this, Triple H and The Rock, man, if it could happen, that would have been, we wanted it for so long, man. It's just a tale as old as time, dude. They're just so good in the ring together.
They're destined to feud for the end of time.
It's interesting, you have to think about this. Triple H does not come from a royal family. He's an outsider.
Yeah.
He's not a Rhodes. He's not in the bloodline. He's not a Mysterio. So it's interesting to think about that. Like, what does Triple H have to do? I mean, he was inserted to the McMahon royal family, but it's just something to think about. Triple H married into it. People thought he was married just because he wanted to take over. There's a little thing for Triple H here if they want to explore, to dig out a little bit, blur the lines more.
I like that you mentioned that Triple H isn't part of a per se royal family.
By the way, he stands in the H line.
Stop. We're not gonna. No, you're not gonna trigger me. You're not gonna trigger me. Triple H starts with a T. Enough.
It's Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Stop.
He stands in the H line.
No.
Period.
No.
Yeah.
Why is he in the T's in every video game then?
Because you cannot.
You baited me.
You cannot shove Hunter Hearst Helmsley in that little line.
You could just do HHH, and they don't do that. It's Triple H. Anytime it comes out.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
All right. Okay. All right. Look, I've fought ad nauseum over this, and I'm not gonna let you reel me back into this fight.
Let me know in the comments.
Triple H, if he goes to the DNV, all right, is he a D? Not a D, sorry, a T or an H? Chat,
H.
everyone, let us know in the comment section. This episode of Wrestling is Cool is sponsored by Factor. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service that sends delicious meals right to your door. And we're talking like delicious, like chef-made meals, nothing like frozen or lazy. Because if you're anything like me, then meal prepping has probably been a huge headache for you. I mean, at least it has been for me, and I've been able to completely get that off of my list. Also, for me personally, I've been on a weight loss journey, and Factor has helped in that tremendously because I'm not ordering bad food in the middle of the night, because there's always delicious ready-made meals right in my fridge that were delivered right to my door. Because I'm trying to lose weight, I always order from their Calorie Smart options, which are meals that are 550 calories or less. But they've got different types of meals for everyone. If you want meals with a lot of protein, they got options. If you want meals that are vegan or vegetarian, they've got options there to cover you as well. This is one of those sponsors that I can personally vouch that they have significantly improved this aspect of my life. And because they're sponsoring the show, you can head over to factormeals.com/Santi50 and use code Santi50 to get 50% off. That's code Santi50 at factormeals.com/Santi50 to get 50% off your first box. Once you do that, you'll be well on your way to having delicious ready-made meals delivered right to your door. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring Wrestling is Cool. Now back to the episode. Yeah, Triple H is kind of like the Great Gatsby in this situation, where he's
Wow, that's a pretty
deep cut, right?
Deep cut there.
Yeah, where people, because if you don't know the story of the Great Gatsby,
Oh, here we go. It's school time.
Gatsby,
I've never thought I would learn this from Santi, but go ahead.
is a very wealthy man living in upstate New York, surrounded by people that are also incredibly wealthy, that are all old rich, that have all inherited their money, that have always been part of powerful families, and they all look down on Gatsby, even though Gatsby is richer than almost all of them, because Gatsby falls under the nouveau rich, the new blood, the new rich, not a royal family.
You remind me of the time when I wrote a college paper on why about the Jedi power as an Eastern religion, the Jedi. That's what you remind me of. Let me tell you why Triple H is like the Great Gatsby. You just keep going.
Well, when you ridicule it like this, it is stupid.
I'm not. It's like if you're a professor or teacher reading this, you're just like, hey, just get out of here. I don't want to read this dumb paper. But no, you make a valid point. You make a valid point, Santi. There's someone out there that goes, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
Let's go with one more pop culture reference with Triple H. I do want to see him, because obviously he's not going to be able to have a match. I do want a Game of Thrones style trial by combat where Triple H chooses his champion to defend him, right? And
the coin drops.
We're going to talk about the potential tag match involving Seth Rollins, but can I throw a name out there for you as Triple H's champion? Randy Orton. Randy Orton versus The Rock.
The Legend Killer.
The Legend Killer, Randy Orton, coming in to try and kill the legend of The Rock. This guy, the Kingslayer. He is the fruit of Triple H's labors, dating as far back as Evolution. We've never seen The Rock versus Randy Orton. That's kind of a lie. They had a tag team match at WrestleMania 20, Rock and Sock versus Evolution. So there's a little bit of history there. And it could maybe further that conversation of I guess the narrative of Randy Orton versus the Bloodline. And I would love for Randy Orton, you know those like TV shows where you have this hero, they look like they can't be stopped. That's Randy Orton. And then they go and face that villain and they get absolutely mauled. That's kind of like, what I want to really like set
Thanos and the Hulk.
Yeah. I want Randy to be the Hulk in this situation where he goes and just gets obliterated by The Rock to set the pace that this is the High Chief Dwayne Johnson. He cannot be stopped. He really is the final boss of this situation. Look what he just did to Randy. Do to Randy Orton what Brock Lesnar did to John Cena at SummerSlam, where he just created this allure of this unstoppable monster so that we can set up, whether it's a final boss battle between Cody and The Rock. I want them to build The Rock as this unstoppable being right now. And I think a champion match to Triple H, this is my champion. This is the guy that has represented WWE for years. Going and getting mauled by The Rock would be a really I would love to see Randy versus The Rock in some capacity, but I just think that you talked about getting The Rock some heat. Obviously, slapping Triple H is a great way to get him some heat and doing some heel stuff, but to create the aura. To further that aura, I would love to see him squash someone like Randy. And I don't say that lightly. I really like Randy Orton.
So basically, Nia Jax.
Squash. No.
You would have.
No. What is that comparison? The Rock and Nia Jax? Stop.
I agree with you. I think if The Rock was squashing big timers and full timers, you build a narrative of blurring the line that it is creative, this new creative that is giving him this kind of red carpet treatment that, it could even be one rock bottom and done, on against Randy. And that would just be, you would be like, whoa, that's a super rock bottom there.
Yeah. You know what we'd be wondering? Rock booked himself to do this. The board of directors booked himself. And that's brilliant.
It would you would have this narrative like Rock's ruining wrestling, like The Rock ruined Black Adam, like The Rock is ruining Disney, yada, yada, yada. And by the way, why is Moana catching strays on Raw?
Dude, so many strays. He got 2.
Like, come on. It's the number 1 stream movie of all time right now. Did you know that?
Yeah, I didn't know that actually. Is that true?
The number 1 stream movie last year is Moana.
It's a great movie, man. What can I say except
not
you're
great
welcome.
It like 20 times a week, bro.
Oh, you know what? That was Frozen for me. I'm not a dad, but my niece lived with me for a few months. Yeah, and it was just Frozen on nonstop repeat. I'm not going to, but I can sing you just about every single song from Frozen word for word.
Into the Unknown, or talking about Frozen 1 or Frozen 2?
Oh, one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Literally every single word. That is a special talent.
Do you think Sami Zayn is Olaf? just trying to get to summer. You know what I mean?
What do you think they're going to do with Sami Zayn? Because I obviously I'm kind of derailing us here for a second, but welcome to Wrestling is Cool. We derail ourselves all the time. We come back and get you to the finish line, though. Don't you worry.
I looked at the timestamps. I was like, I like that the other episode was an organic, fluid conversation. Go for the ride, you know?
Yeah.
Go for that Taker last ride.
What when we're recording this is after Monday Night Raw, and the main event was Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. Mm-hmm. Why was that main eventing? It's just 2 losers. It's 2 guys that haven't won in months. Why was I meant to care?
Okay. Calm down. All right.
Okay, tell me Nakamura's last win before this. Tell me Sami Zayn's last win before this.
I know. It was good for Nakamura. It was good. He needed a win.
I love that.
2, it was vintage Nakamura. It gave me a lot of NXT vibes, and he was fantastic in it. And 3, losers. Of course, they're trying to build up Sami, but I think it should have been the match before that, because what's right now is most important is qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. So I thought LA Knight and Ivar should have been invented.
Oh my God! You did not just transition this little thought of mine into making LA Knight main event a show.
I have the floor, sir. I have the floor, sir. I have the talking stick. Okay. First off, LA Knight on Raw. Hello, that's different. That should be something special. 2, where's the LA Knight promo? Hello, he's on Raw. It's special. And it's the Elimination Chamber qualifier. You don't think that's more important than Nakamura and Sami Zayn, as you said, the losers?
Okay, you're using my own words against me, and I hate this. This is actually no. LA Knight versus Ivar should not be main eventing Raw.
Why not?
I can't give you a reason why not. It's just a feeling that I have.
You're just an LA Knight hater. You're allergic to the glaze. You need to open up that mouth and let the glaze back in again, okay?
No.
Why? All of a sudden, when CM Punk and Randy came back, you've been on this anti-LA Knight vibe.
I have not been on an anti-LA Knight vibe.
I quote, you literally just said Nakamura and Sami, what's it for? It meant nothing. And here I am presenting something that meant something, and you're like, nah, it didn't be no. Why? And I seen your reaction. You like Ivar. I like Ivar. Everyone likes Ivar. Okay? I suggested he should change his gimmick to a middle-aged dad. Shave the beard, get wear pants, wear a button up. It'd be awesome because you'd be like, dude, that's a dad in there wrecking shop. It'd be a great gimmick. But back to my point. Sami Zayn, what they're going for about this entire thing, I see it. It's an underdog story. I think the better version of Sami Zayn was him fighting against the Power. And I think that probably got a little bit too uncomfortable for the WWE brass. And they probably now leaned into this whole thing that he's just losing. It's a much more simpler versus the more complex of him saying, I'm fighting against Power. The Judgment Day have too much power. Bloodline have too much power. And they were like, all right, we need to scale it back to you're just losing all the time, which is unfortunate.
I do think he's going to end up weaseling his way to a world title match. I think that's what they're, because I think when I look at the already incredible field of the men's elimination chamber match, holy smokes, Randy, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, I guess, and Bobby Lashley, with the potential of adding Logan Paul, Dominic Mysterio, or Kevin Owens, like that is a star-studded elimination chamber match, and yet somehow far and away the favorite is still, of course, Drew McIntyre. But because we've seen Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins so many times, and the fact that, and we're going to talk about this in just a second, I think it's very likely that Seth Rollins ends up doing double duty at WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised if that World Heavyweight title match ends up becoming a triple threat with Sami Zayn sneaking his way in there. One, to help cap off Sami Zayn's career with a huge victory. Two, I guess, put a button on this narrative of the Sami Zayn losing streak and him finding his way to WrestleMania, as he keeps saying. And three, give a match to Seth Rollins where he doesn't have to work 100% of the time in a triple threat environment, where he can rest and not injure himself, as he potentially has to save himself for this tag team main event that they're alluding to. You keep shaking your head no. He's doing this like this Jim at the office thing where he's kind of like trying to break the fourth wall, trying to tell the listeners and the viewers that Santi's such a moron. Let's hear it. No. What do you got?
Oh no. I don't want Sami to win the title. Give Drew his due, baby. That's the new title that we're going for. Give Drew his due. He is the MVP of Monday Night Raw right now. It used to be Judgment Day, and Judgment Day, I don't know what they're doing. They got sidetracked by R-Truth. They're now a comedic thing. Damian is trying to be this head honcho. It's not working for me. Finn Balor's wearing Gucci, Versace shirts. Not working for me. Where's Dom and Mommy? All right, Judgment Day on ice. And so in comes in Drew to save the day. CM Punk's out. #1 t-shirt, almost top 5 t-shirt seller. Drew is the MVP, and Drew should get this title, dude. Give him the title, a heel run with Drew McIntyre. He's doing some great work. I don't see why people hate Drew right now. I see people go like, I don't get him. He's not my thing. But the dude's hilarious. He's cutting great promos, blurring the lines a lot in his promos, saying the things that we all want to say. And at the same time, the dude's a physical specimen. This dude could go. He's a workhorse, and he has very valid reasons to go after the title. He's been screwed multiple times. And I truly think you want Seth to do double duty. If you're going to make him do double duty, it should just be a squash match with Drew and Seth.
A squash match? Who's getting squashed?
Your dreams. All right. That's again, the world title being held on to Seth so long, it gives no flexibility in this situation. You got to make it grand and grandiose in order to keep the belt being like at a higher, not a second tier belt. Let's just call it is. It just is secondary. It's the workhorse belt. So let it go to a workhorse and Drew McIntyre. And maybe I'm just drinking the Drew McIntyre Kool-Aid off that hairy chest. I'm sorry.
We did not need that visual, but it's a visual I fully understand, and I understand where you're coming from, my friend. I get it.
Like Brood style. Yeah.
We didn't need any further explanation on that. I thought it was pretty clear what you were doing there.
I'm not the only one. Come on, Santi. You're with me, aren't you?
I kind of am. I'm not. I feel like the chest hair just adds a little extra garnish.
One time, my dad told me to eat the garnish, and I ate it because I trusted my father, and he was like, "You weren't supposed to eat that." I'm like, "It tasted horrible." So, thanks, Dad.
So, What do you think is the play here with WrestleMania? Let's pretend for a second that Seth Rollins is doing double duty. For those that maybe aren't up to date, the WWE released this Super Bowl commercial, not on the Super Bowl. They're like, we're not going to pay the $7 million. Yeah. They released it like right before the Super Bowl that showed The Rock and Roman Reigns facing off against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins in like this dystopian world. It was a pretty cool teaser, alluding to a potential, I would assume, night one main event WrestleMania match between those four in a tag team match environment, which would then mean that Roman and Cody Rhodes and presumably Seth Rollins are all doing double duty at WrestleMania. Cool. That's fantastic. I'm down for that. These are some great workers. And if you were going to tell me a year ago that Roman Reigns was going to work 2 nights in 1 night, I'd say you're a filthy liar, because this man won't even work 1 time in a 3-month stretch. So I'm okay with this.
It's like Santi doing Fall Guys right after his reaction.
Oh, you had to bring that up. That's a sore spot with my communities. Where's Fall Guys? Where's Fall Guys? Oh, part-timer, where's Fall Guys? Where do you put Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship match then? If the tag match is the night one main event, and it will be a main event for sure, considering they've been talking a lot about how the first WrestleMania was main evented by a tag team match. I think they were just kind of trying to ease you into it. Hey, just remember, you were okay with last year being a tag team match. The first WrestleMania was a tag team match. We're going to give you a tag team match here as well. Where does the Seth Rollins world title match then come into play? Is it going to be earlier in night one? Because I feel like if it's earlier in night one, you could go one of 2 ways. Either it's incredibly predictable, Seth Rollins wins because you don't want him to lose any of that steam going into the tag match, or The Rock goes out there, or Roman Reigns goes out there during Seth Rollins' match and costs him the title, getting some extra heat for that match later on in the night. What would you like to see?
That's tough, right? Because what the chamber is for a match with Seth Rollins, right?
So that's for sure. Like that, right. Unless Rock inserts himself, which again would be some pretty dope corporate board of directors Rock heel heat if he were to insert himself in there and win the Elimination Chamber. That'd actually be pretty rad. I doubt that'll be the case, but for sure we have at least one Seth Rollins match being the World Heavyweight title match. This tag team match, that's the one that we are presuming.
Would it be? I think Seth has to have that belt going into that, right? He needs it.
I would think so.
It adds a little bit more like oomph to that. I mean, you have another champion versus champion. I mean, they did the stare down between Roman and Seth. You have that pass of the Shield. Seth mentioned it in his promo, which is one of his best promos, I think. But I think it went still a little bit too long on Monday Night Raw. He could have got to the point a lot sooner. But I think you have to have Seth to have the belt, and he has to walk out of Mania as a title. I mean, that's what I mean. If Seth did not have the title now, I think the strength is still there in that tag team, right?
Yeah.
Seth is the workhorse, and it protects The Rock from working too hard, protects Roman from working too hard, and Cody and Seth could kind of do all the work in that one. I just, for me, when it comes down to it, the thing about it, when I was going to say it is, it's like, why can't we just give the belt away for free on television? I was just remember seeing someone posted a SmackDown clip of Friday Night SmackDown, and they had like a championship belt, like a fatal 4-way. And I thought, dude, this is cool. It's on free television, and someone lost the belt. Like, why not do that with Seth? But you can't do that now. There's just no backing out. It's kind of locked in that Seth needs this belt.
Yeah, they did handcuff themselves. And
that's what I mean. It's a shame, though.
Yeah,
this situation needs no belts.
It doesn't need any belts. You're right. The tag team match does not need any belts.
What I was going to say is it dumb to have a tag team for the single belt? I mean, could it be like the dumbest thing that the creative of the Rock side could say, hey, Seth, this tag team's for the title, and what if the title just goes to the Bloodline? And Roman could carry it, or The Rock could carry it. Like, it's never been done before, but it would make you feel like the fix is in type of vibe. I don't know.
I'm with you. I think objectively, based on what we know about professional wrestling tropes and what we're used to, it is objectively stupid. But we've also not seen it before. So it would be disingenuous for me to dismiss it entirely as a
Would you like
good
it, though?
possibility. I don't
Like,
know. I don't know if I would like that. I would definitely add a lot more meat and potatoes to this tag match, where it would just, without any sort of additional stakes. It's just a really important tag match. But if you were to add the titles in there, and if The Rock and Roman are now 1 and 2 champions in the WWE. I mean, talk about heel Rock heat that we were talking about. I don't think I love the idea of it being in a tag match, but I've never seen that before, so I actually don't know whether I'd love it or not.
The point I'm trying to make, and before people like sound off in the comments, like, no, it's a singles belt. I get that, but in the era where belts matter, in a sense of who's holding on to them, and this belt has not been off of Seth in a clean way. He's gone through everybody on the roster that because a big contender. Why not let him get screwed out of the belt, with The Rock being the reason why? I don't know. It makes no sense. But what didn't make sense is Cody giving the spot to The Rock and then going back and giving it and saying, I changed my mind. And if you ever watch the presser now, you feel like you watched like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Like, well, I guess the scene was supposed to happen later in the timeline. I don't understand.
Do you think they ever explain that
No.
that plot hole? Because
No.
I laughed at the notion of them doing like a flashback, and it's
That's what I thought.
yeah,
dude.
like a backstage conversation between The Rock and Cody Rhodes, where The Rock, does the whole people's champion, convinces Cody Rhodes to give up his opportunity. Cody Rhodes walks away like happy with his decision. And then it just pans to The Rock telenovela style, where his face changes from good guy to bad guy. And he just smells the air. And then that's our explanation for how we got to this point. I would love for them to, in some capacity, to retcon why this happened, but I doubt they ever will. I don't think they're ever going to acknowledge the cuckening of Cody Rhodes.
If you ever feel like you've got a sneak peek on what's it like of the meta multiverse, that's it right there. In another timeline, we're getting Rock and Roman clean. Like, you think about it. You ever had those deja vu moments? That was like a multiverse moment for everybody in the universe. Tag team match, sure, I'll take it. Protects The Rock. It makes this feud go longer. I don't think do you still end it in night 2 with Cody and Roman?
I would assume. Man, it all depends, because if Cody Roman ends up being the night 1 main event and the night 2 main event is that tag match, do we really have Roman? Is there any chance Roman loses at the night 1 main event to Cody Rhodes? Because I don't think so. No way.
That it's over. When Roman loses that belt, his story's over. This man could ride off to the sunset. I had a crazy idea, though.
Hear me out. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Strap in for another Sancho booking.
Before you do that, I've been hearing, I'll just say this, record-breaking number of hear me outs over the last week and a half.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it's been a joy reading your 3-paragraph long fantasy bookings. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your manifestos.
Well, here's one in person. You could turn the bloodline face. This is how you do it. The Rock and Roman get desperate because Cody is assembling the Avengers. We've seen it on Monday Night Raw. He's talking to Seth. He's talking to Jay. He's like, Cody's like, I'm there for you. And Seth's like, I'm going to be there for you. And all the faces are like, I'm there for you. I got your back always. So that happens. And then Paul Heyman gets a little scared. And he's like, we need more help. I don't know where Solo. Yeah, Solo is somewhere. Jimmy is
just hanging out with his thumb out.
Hanging out with his thumb up, where the Nuggets go.
Where
Cody.
Do the Nuggets go?
That's where they go, Cody. That was a great moment. Pat McAfee was like,
dude, I love that Pat McAfee getting called out for like, dude, come on.
It's so good. That's why Pat McAfee's is a sleeper signing that it's going to continue to pay dividends. As I was saying, Paul Heyman panics. He's like, we need to make the bloodline stronger. Calls in Jacob Fatu. And Fatu, for you don't know, is a very, very prominent free agent that has a lot of issues out of the ring, but they're trying to see how well he could work, right? So this guy he's he's a phenomenal athlete. This guy's a beast. This guy does some crazy Samoan drops, and this guy is amazing, gifted. Fatu comes in, and he starts being like a more aggressive member, and he starts being very, very rude. Like I've said this in my stream. I said the Bloodline is not really bothering anybody. If you really think about it, as a heel faction, they're not interrupting matches. They're not NWO and taking over PLEs. They're not creating their own NWO shows. They're not hijacking anything. They're just holding on to the belt. That's all they're doing. They're just existing, minding their own business, and being the prominent champion. That's all. If you really think about it, right?
Sure.
The only heel thing they did was take out AJ Styles, right? In a long time, that's the most heel thing they did. And then after that, they've been chilled. They've been on ice because Roman hasn't been around, right? So Fatu comes in and he starts instigating, right? He starts taking over, destroys Cody, and he's the thing that overtakes the face Avengers. And now the Bloodline's on top. But Fatu goes over the line, and it too far.
Attacks babies.
Baby faces. and what ends up happening is Fatu creates a coup, and he takes over Roman because Roman's weak. And now we've created this face Roman, who now is the only guy to stop Fatu, the heel aggressive version of the Bloodline, like the red NWO type Bloodline. Granted, red NWO was a face, but I'm talking about the ultra Bloodline, the deep crimson red Bloodline. And now you have Fatu versus Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns beats Fatu to retain as the tribal chief, and then he retires.
But why do you need Jacob Fatu when you have The Rock right there to be the one that takes over the Bloodline?
I think The Rock is not scary enough. If that makes sense. Like you can't have The Rock do it because because The Rock we've seen The Rock be a face. Fatu, we never seen him in the WWE. We never seen this guy. We need someone that we've never seen, kind of like one of those MCU villains that's just as plain evil. You know what I mean? Like he's just a plain heel. Like, all right, this guy's a bad dude. That's all he knows how to be. Is just a bad dude. No remorse, no type of vibe. And I think it would work, but it would have to. You're talking about an execution of a storyline that would be very, very difficult. And if you want to do that, my royalties are available. But I just think you cannot have Roman retire as a heel. You just cannot have that happen.
I don't think you can either. I do believe that there is a timeline, and I think we're on that timeline where the end goal is Roman Reigns as a babyface. I don't know exactly how we get there. I think you presented.
I just told you how.
Well, I just told you. I was about to say you presented a pretty plausible way of how we get there.
It's gorgeous. It's not pretty. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. It's LA Knight good.
Oh, is it glaze good? LA Knight glaze. Like, is it glaze certified?
Coming back at it, LA Knight's body looking fit. He's looking jacked. He's looking great today.
He looked great on Raw, which it's like okay.
His hair looks great.
So no His brand split. Is this just like can we just say it's dead? Can we just collectively as a unit say like the brand split just doesn't matter?
I don't know because the creative still brings it up with these signings.
I guess we still have the feud between Adam Pearce, Nick Aldis. That's still going on.
Who's you signing with?
I mean, like
if they come to you, it's like Santi, we need a correspondent right now.
Correspondent.
And it's just a segment where you're like a pre-show, post-show guy.
Oh, I mean, right now, give me SmackDown. Give me SmackDown. No, give me Raw. I want to be on Netflix. Give me Raw.
Too late.
I'm locked in. I can't change this fictional scenario.
There's no brand split, bro. Okay, you cannot blend. That's why I was trying to tell you, LA Knight being on Raw should have been a bigger deal, but they didn't do it.
Wanted to ask you about this road to WrestleMania because it feels like there is some casualties along the way.
Yes, and I understand. Santi, wrestling is cool. Go ahead, answer the question.
Wait, answer the question. What's the question?
Yeah. Ask the question. Go ahead.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this a press conference?
Yeah. Yes.
The December, November, and before that, we were seeing the WWE experiment a lot, right? Like here is Zoe Stark, this unknown. Have her in the women's main event of Survivor Series alongside Rhea Ripley. She's facing off against Rhea Ripley as well at Crown Jewel. We have the Creed brothers coming in, wrecking show, getting pushed to the top, and then People like Sancho just memeing them like, where are the Creed brothers? Are the Creed brothers gonna come make the save? Ivy Nile also getting that big push right off the rip. We had Dragon Lee get a big opportunity right off the get-go, getting that semi call-up from NXT. And then yet right now, when we look at the landscape of professional wrestling, all of those people that I mentioned are C plot characters, not even B plot characters. I wanted to get your opinion on this. Is this a case of WWE trying and it not landing? Or is this just a symptom of it just being WrestleMania season and you need to put a spotlight on the people that are going to be your money drawers for WrestleMania, which forces those C and B plot characters to take a hiatus almost, where they aren't really prominently featured anymore as they were over the summer months and in the fall months?
I think it's another option. It's C. The Rock pushes everybody down. It just is what it is. It's the same thing that happened at LA Knight when CM Punk and Randy Orton came back. They just shove everybody down, and now it's more about where the airtime needs to go. And it is B. It's his WrestleMania season. We need to sell tickets for WrestleMania. You cannot have. Like, I was watching Zoe Starks, I was like, she deserves better. They need to figure out something with her because she's great, and she's just lacking that connection with the audience. I thought, like, man, some of the things she was doing against Liv Morgan was awesome on Monday Night Raw. But I just feel like when it comes down to everybody that you listed, it's the problem that WWE always gets into every now and then. They get a logjam of talent, and then you have this situation where you either let them go or they create a third show that no one watches. And that's what it comes down to. I just think there's just no room. Even if you had a third hour SmackDown, there'll still be no room for everybody. And it is what it is. It's unfortunate. I just think, as someone who is for the first time watching Raw intently and closely, more so than ever, I feel like there's just so much ad bloating that if you, hopefully, I know Netflix is not going to cut out ads, but if it trims it down a little bit, you'll give some more spots for these talent to show up. So I think it's just WrestleMania season. To wrap that up, the thought up is WrestleMania season, and at the bottom line is just now the Rock is here, and we want to see what Rock and Cody want to say. I actually, truthfully, that's what we want to see. Why wasn't the Rock here? It's kind of like, have the Rock be there, have him just show up or call in, do something. I think that's what makes the Bloodline storyline so baby steppy. It's like you have to wait like 2 weeks to get the Bloodline's response.
Yeah, we're at the point where, if we're waiting, like if we're talking video games, the Bloodline is game as a service now, where we're waiting for the next drop, right? Okay, I finished this update, and now I have to wait 2 months for the next patch, for the next battle pass. Yeah, we finished the battle pass with the Bloodline.
I know.
Do you really think there's no room for a third show? Because they have tried it before. They did it with ECW a while back, and it failed miserably. 205 Live failed miserably. However, we're also in a landscape where NXT, with no recognizable names, obviously we recognize them, the hardcore wrestling fans, they're drawing 800,000 people, sometimes always beating Collision, sometimes beating Dynamite. Imagine a third show nowadays with a roster in the WWE that is bloated, with a tremendous amount of talent. If their developmental brand is almost breaking 1 million viewers, I think that there is a good business reason as to why you might want to have a third show, but there's also historical evidence that it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Like I mentioned, like Sunday Night Heat, it just never catches. I think it'd be bold of the WWE to go on Wednesday and just say, look, we're going to go up against, and just literally say we're taking out AEW.
They'd win. If it was a main roster show, they would beat AEW.
Right. Well, even it's mid-card wrestling, right? And that'd be a dope name for a show, by the way, mid-card wrestling. But it would work, but I think you need to be, okay, the heavyweight title is a working workhorse, and I think you got to move the Intercontinental there to that show, and you got to move another tag team. You got to split the titles on the tag team.
New titles for the show. I know it creates a logjam of titles, But
it's just I don't like too much gold, man. I don't want too much gold. Maybe a cruiserweight.
I do
Maybe
want a women's
hardcore.
mid card. I think there's now room for a women's mid
Yeah,
card title
there's
somewhere.
definitely. I agree, and I think if they were to do a show and make it 2 hours on a Wednesday for the Ivy Niles, for the Zoe Starks, the Shayna Baszlers, like all those type of talent, for like New Day to headline that type of thing, like those people, the Tyler Bates and the Pete Dunnes. I think you could
Pete
have
Dunne. That's his name now. Don't mispronounce it. It's Pete Dunne.
DIY, like those kind of people.
PX, you mean?
Baby Kratos. There's a lot of things that it could work, but wrestler schedules, I think that's in consideration already. They already work to the bone, but if they create like a home base like NXT, or even have it at Full Sail and say Wednesday nights we're gonna have wrestling, and it literally Triple H, or even if The Rock, if TKO and they said we're going after AEW. Like what dude, what will you do? And as AEW fans that may be watching the show, I'm not saying, like, again, people love to throw the word tribalism out there. I'm not saying, it's just a matter of competition to bring out the best of both brands. I think if you did that, AEW would seriously have to think about, okay, how can we adjust and how can we pivot? Because now it is a battle. It is now a ratings battle between the two. Because right now, I can't believe AEW is on Saturday night. Like, that's just a weird. That's a weird place to be.
You can't sell me on watching Collision on a Saturday night. I'll watch clips afterwards, but you can't sell me on a Saturday night show.
Especially when college football is in full swing. It's just so weird. A weird night. So can they do a third show? Yes, but I think for them to be relevant and to make it more like, to try to get the wrestling fan that knows Wednesday night there is wrestling, you got to put on Wednesday.
Sancho, I think it's time for buy or sell. This is a new segment. I don't have a jingle ready for you.
Yes,
but
new segment. But hey, if you're talented out there, Santi, we need a theme song. The WIC needs a theme song. You know what I mean? A little intro stinger. A little something out there. I know some of y'all are creative. Make it happen.
Get to it.
Little anyway. Or the double J.
Oh. Yeah,
what a wet blanket
double
he was.
Oh my goodness! Every TNA pay-per-view in the 2000s just always ending with his theme song.
Yeah.
PTSD.
All right. Buy or sell. So this is a segment, folks, that I like to bring to the table, where we just simply talk about people and angles as well. Do we buy it or sell it? Are you all about it, or are you out? First up, Alpha Academy. Are we done with Alpha Academy? And again, I want to preference this. I'm not talking about the actual wrestlers. I'm talking about their current run and how they're used and their gimmick. I just want to be clear on that. I'm not done with Tozawa, Otis, and Chad Gable and Maxine Dupree. I'm not done with them. I'm talking about this current version of Alpha Academy. I think I am selling on them. It's just the writing's on the wall. Chad Gable is the only light. They're either a comedic tag team, they're a face tag team. They've been literally ran through by the entire roster. A single Ivar has gone through the entirety of Alpha Academy. Bronson Reed has gone through Alpha Academy. I think that it's time to put Alpha Academy to rest.
I'm sadly agreeing with you. I think I'm on the sell side of things with Alpha Academy, because even when they do get TV time, even when they are utilized, it's Groundhog Day. It's the same thing, just different beast destroying them. Like you said, okay, we're gonna have a 5-week program between Alpha Academy and Ivar, where Ivar more or less wins just about every single match, and then they're off of TV. All right, now let's do Bronson Reed doing the same thing. And then take a couple weeks, and then, oh my goodness, I hope you didn't forget about Ivar, because now Ivar is back to do the same thing. It's really is Groundhog Day, and it's been Groundhog Day for Alpha Academy ever since they removed Chad Gable from the Intercontinental Championship. And we told you first here at Wrestling is Cool that he was not going to be back in that picture. We hated saying it, but here's the proof in the pudding. They aren't even getting any TV time on Raw. Frankly, I think the only thing that could maybe save them is if somehow the fellas from Chase University get moved up to the main roster, and then there's some sort of like university clash, schools of thought clash between Alpha Academy and Chase University. To me, that's like the only thing left for them to do.
Bring and put the Creed brothers in the mix. Why not?
Why not? Sure. So I am sadly selling Alpha Academy. Can I throw one your way? Sure. I didn't come prepared for these, but I want to throw buy or sell R-Truth versus Damian Priest once in a lifetime at WrestleMania. Are we building to this? Buy or sell?
I'm buying it. I talked about it when I was watching Monday Night Raw. I was like, this has to happen. It's going to be a great match between the two. I think we need to see a serious side of R-Truth in that match for it to really work. And it'd be a great appetizer. It'd be a great, it has the potential to steal night or a day 2 Mania type vibe. You know what I mean? It's perfect. I'm not a fan of head honcho, Damian Priest. But in the moments against R-Truth, that's when it's at its best.
I'm with you. I'm buying this. I can already picture them trying to recreate the Rock and Hogan stare down and looking around, and at WrestleMania people are going bananas for R-Truth. Dude, I would love this to be a feud that actually is blown off at a major PLE, not just Monday Night Raw. I think that this, in terms of as an attraction, I think it is one, and it's an attraction that should be acknowledged at WrestleMania.
Here is the Sancho wrinkle. It is for the Money in the Bank case. And R-Truth now has the Money in the Bank, and he doesn't know how to use it. You know what I mean? He cashes it in at random times, and they're like, no, I am not the champion, R-Truth. Don't cash it in on me. Like, that needs to, I think, for where the Money in the Bank is, and do I want to see Damian as champion at this time? Honestly, no. I'd rather have R-Truth have shenanigans with the Money in the Bank case.
I mean, the Money in the Bank case is already shenanigans. It's already the buffoon's tool. You might as well put it on the best buffoon there is.
On the best in the business, dude.
All right, you go.
The next buy or sell, folks, and you can play along too in the comments. Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark, we mentioned her. She looked great, I thought, against Liv Morgan, and she moves well, and she's very physical. I just think I mentioned I'm in a buy situation here. I kind of showed my hand earlier, but yes, a buy for Zoe Stark. I just think that when the Trish Stratus angle did not work out for her, and Becky didn't work out for her, I think she was inserted too soon for where she is now, and now she has to work her way up. But I don't think she should be in a squash or losing situation, unfortunately. But I think she's going to have a great showing at that last chance Elimination Chamber moment.
Yeah, look at this, agreeing. We're agreeing, Sancho. Yeah, I'm buy on Zoe Stark. I really think that the only reason right now that she is, because where she is a symptom of its WrestleMania season. Sorry, ladies, if you are not Bianca Belair, Bayley, Jade Cargill, or one of the champions, Becky Lynch, one of these top tier women, you're going to be, for now, placed to the side for the sake of building these major WrestleMania feuds with the biggest names that the WWE has. But Backlash is coming up. That's a B pay-per-view. You've got other pay-per-views that are coming up that aren't always these giant mega shows like WrestleMania. That's where the Zoe Starks of the world can once again reflourish. And I do believe that that's going to end up being the case. I'm far more optimistic about Zoe Stark than Alpha Academy.
Are we on the same page about our big dog Ivar? Buy or sell?
I'm buying on Ivar. I'm selling the gimmick. I will always sell the gimmick. And
is it selling something? Is there like Viking helmets at these live events or like a T-shirt or like a mug.
The only
What's selling for Ivar with
dude,
these
I
Viking
think the
gimmicks?
only thing that's over with in terms of the costume, and it's because of Michael Cole, is Valhalla's antlers, because Michael Cole is
The worst thing I hate. I
it's
hate it when he
obsessed
says
with the
it. I'm like,
antlers. But that's the only thing that's like over it on WWE television. But Ivar is just consistently. I don't think this is like, aside from Gunther, I think he's like the best worker on Monday Night Raw, like on a regular basis. There's no bad Gunther match. And I feel like I can confidently say there's no bad Ivar match either. But that gimmick, man, the thing is, he's already at the top of where he can go with that gimmick. He's already at the ceiling, and he's trying so hard to be able to break through that ceiling, but it's just going to be so difficult when you're coming out to a CG Viking ship.
give him a Heath Slater. I need the money for my kids. Give him kayfabe Kibbs. I don't care. Have him be this dad that's just
working
trying
a
to
9 to
wrestle.
5.
Working a 9 to 5, and this is his 9 to 5, bro. Is him working, wearing khaki pants, button up, shave the beard, and with his natural voice. I think you would have great, like, so many things that you can do with that, and it's because honestly, he reminds me of a dad out there. He just has that look of a dad. If you just dress him up a bit, and I think it would work. I think I've never seen that kind of thing. We saw Heath Slater again. I got to do it for my kids type of thing, but this would work for Ivar. And I think without his Viking partner, which his name escapes me now, I do apologize. I know he's injured.
Eric
with a K. See, at least I know that.
Mm-hmm.
At least without Eric, he just has nowhere to go.
Dude, what if they do a WandaVision style story for Ivar, where he just all of the sudden is just this middle America dad, and Eric still comes back in his Viking gear, like, what are you doing? Where'd you go? He's just over here having his 1950s home cooked meals.
Dude, with a comb over. Dude, it'd be so good, dude. It'd be. I think wrestling needs some of that. We're already seeing it with Tony Storm with her 1920s gimmick and her Hollywood era gimmick. It's working really well over there at AEW. But I just think wrestling needs a little bit more of that. I love the idea of Vikings. On paper, it sounds good. We've seen it try it happen again. What was it? The Acolytes, with and then what was that other one? Not the Authors of Pain, but those guys are in NXT that were real good, and they try to do it. They have face paint, and they have that.
Yes, the Ascension.
The Ascension, right? It's there, but if it doesn't hit now, it's not going to hit again. I think a lot of people are trying to recreate Taker in some sort of way in the Brood, and it just right now, it's hard. That's the hardest gimmick to put over, is a dude that thinks he's a Viking. And even if for a kid.
It is a very 90s gimmick. It is.
It's very 90s. Very 90s. All right. So we both buy Ivar. Buy or sell the Final Testament.
This is hard. This is tough. I'm leaning towards Karrion Kross's faction. I'm leaning towards buy, but damn it, I'm so close to selling. And the reason I'm in the buy category is because I do feel like this is make or break for Karrion Kross. And I feel like most people, when put in make or break situations, I think you could flourish and show the world why you are in the position that you are, why you were given this opportunity to lead this big faction with a legendary name like Paul Ellering in there. Yeah, like, here's the thing, man. There was a promo that Adam Cole said.
When you sound like that, it's like, man,
it's just Adam Cole once said to Karrion Kross in NXT, they've done everything for you. You got the cool entrance, the great theme, the hot wife. You got the look, and it's just not working. And I feel like that's sort of been the case with Karrion Kross over the last couple of years, but this is the most that they've ever really tried with Karrion Kross. I do believe that as much as Karrion Kross has not been able to get himself over, I also don't think he's been given a great opportunity to get himself over. And I think he finally has the tools. Is it working yet? Right now, it's not. But I'm going to lean towards buy. I want to give this a bit more time before I'm over here, having a Final Testament garage sale.
I just feel like again, it's a hard gimmick to get over. this guy who's talking about time, very meta things, you know. I also as well, the only chance he had was Rumble, I thought, and he did not have a great showing at Rumble. And I thought he would interfere with Bobby during the qualifier. And I thought Bronson was going to be in. And I was Bronson has to be in. Somebody has to represent that area of the country of the world. And no, Bobby wins clean. I was like, what? Where's Carrion? Hello? Did he miss your flight? Were you not on time? For someone who cares about time?
Did that actually be hilarious? Oh no, I forgot to reset my hourglass.
Daylight savings strikes again. No, so yeah, I actually am selling Karrion Kross. I mean, I do predict that if Bobby's still in the chamber, if he's not quote unquote hurt in an angle by the Final Testament, I think the Authors of Pain running Raf Shack in the Rough Shack in that chamber would be cool against all that talent. That'd be kind of interesting to see Authors of Pain get some kind of that heat going in there and just destroying the chamber. I don't know. I mean, why not? I mean, what else are they going to do? I thought the Authors of Pain should have been in the Uso Penitentiary a long time ago. That would have been so sick.
That would have been sick.
That would have been so sick.
We have
Again, what?
Yes, we have one more. Okay.
Yeah, we have one. We have one more.
Okay.
Two more.
Okay.
Can you buy two more?
Oh, I'm good.
All right.
Well, I might sell two more. We'll see.
Solo Sikoa.
Oh, dude, I've been selling this guy forever.
Wow.
And I'm still saying on sell.
John Cena resentment. I see.
It's a little bit of the John Cena resentment. But look, I'm going to say a couple things. Clearly, the John Cena rub for these youngsters doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah, and I guess they should stop that. I think that Cena is cool. I think it's really great that Cena is willing to come back and do the job for these youngsters. I think it's cool. But now that we're talking Cena retirement matches, I think it should be an established guy like a Randy Orton. Clearly, it's not working for these guys to beat or squash John Cena. It didn't work for Austin Theory. It didn't work for Solo Sikoa. I will say that the loss to Austin Theory, I don't think was necessarily I think that's a bit more telling that the Cena rub didn't work because they had Austin Theory out there regularly on television and he just wasn't getting over. So I also have to put a bit of the blame on Austin Theory because he was given an opportunity to appear on screen and get himself over. Then we have Solo Sikoa with this just annihilation of John Cena of the likes that I haven't seen since Brock Lesnar did it to him at SummerSlam. And even with that, he's not seen internally clearly as good enough to be able to carry bloodline narratives when Roman isn't there. Because when Roman isn't there, they just keep the bloodline off almost entirely. And when Roman isn't there and they do have the bloodline, they're just goons. They're just out there interrupting things and getting in the way as opposed to actually being people that you want to see lose. Because when I see a Solo Sikoa match, all I'm thinking is, when's Roman coming back? When is the actual Roman match? When is the actual bloodline match that matters? And that's not good. I care more about Jimmy Uso matches a lot more than I do about Solo Sikoa matches, because at the very least, Jimmy has a very infectious heel personality. Solo has nothing. I'm a thumb and I whisper. I'm sorry, that's just never gonna work. At the very least, Umaga was, I got a thumb and at the very least he was a big personality out there. But Solo is just, oh, I got this. Yeah, I'm not nervous. I'll do this. It doesn't do it for me. I'm selling at a discount.
I think the reason why you have to sell Solo is because The Rock's here now, and he just goes further down the hierarchy.
That's true.
And he's no longer the heir to the tribal chief. I think the only way they could salvage Solo is give him more to do beyond the promo and beyond the whispers, not be Umaga, like you mentioned, be his own kind of person. And The Rock needs to, if The Rock gives him a rub and it doesn't work, and then that's it. I think where can you go with Solo? He's a Paul Heyman guy already. He's the heir to the throne. and you just don't see the heir to the throne do his thing.
Sadly, the only place you can go with Solo is not up. It's down, and then from down up, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, he's already in the top faction, already treated as a top guy in that top faction, and it's still not resonating. So I think the only way to go is down, and then a rebuild of Solo Sikoa, a sort of repackaging, or doing something very out of left field with him for him to work for me.
So the last buy or sell is we're going to go off the beaten path out of the WWE into the realm of the free agency. Buy or sell Okada in AEW.
Oh, I mean, here's the thing. What Okada, at the very least for me, because I don't speak Japanese, and when I watch New Japan matches, I don't know narratives, I don't know stories. I just am here to watch the match. And Okada puts on fantastic matches. My problem with AEW is that they've been trying, but historically, for me at least, I haven't really been able to enjoy their stories anywhere near as much. Sometimes they just entirely rely on good matches before stories. And Okada in that environment where match quality comes first over story could actually flourish over in AEW. Meanwhile, in WWE, I don't know how good of a narrative storyteller Okada is because I'm not familiar with his with that aspect of his work. I think that there is far more risk that Okada flounders in WWE than in AEW. So as much as I would have loved to see the Rainmaker versus Gunther in WWE, I weirdly actually think that AEW might actually be a better home for him. So bye.
I think what you would need to understand about Okada is I don't know how the WWE doesn't try to do this AEW dream match situation every now and then. They tried with Taker and Sting, right? They tried to set up these unbelievable Hogan, Rock, Cena, Rock. I think there's room on the card for a dream match with Okada and Cena. I think that would be really awesome. And I think not necessarily as a retirement match, but as you talk about established talent. And I think if Okada did beat Cena cleanly, I think that would be a stronger catapult for Okada because it's been a dream match that we've all wanted to see. Top guy in the New Japan, top guy in WWE. And I think that would be a great way to start off his career in the WWE. But I don't think you sign Okada, like you mentioned, I don't think you sign Okada for narratives unless he's going for the title. That's the only narrative you could kind of picture him wanting to do and take over. I don't see him doing like a Nakamura type of angle because it's kind of too easy to make that leap, to cross that bridge.
So where are you? Buy or sell?
For AEW, I think it's going to have to be a buy, and I think it's Tony Khan's one of his last few cards. I think they only have 3 cards left, and they have to wait for MJF to come back, and it's a good holdover until MJF comes back.
It's also the old man. It's I don't want to turn this into the bash AW because it usually does with me. But I think this is also just such a symptom of demonstrating that AEW becomes interesting when there are free agents at play. When it should also be internally building up your own arsenal, your own youngsters, your own version of NXT, which you have in Ring of Honor. But it seems to me that no one cares about people getting called up from Ring of Honor to the main roster. Meanwhile, people get hyped about a Tiffany Stratton or a Braun Breaker, one of those stars that WWE has built in their system moving into the main roster. Meanwhile, AEW doesn't have that. They can only rely on those big free agent names, which is something that you can't control. You can't control when they become free agents, and you can't control if they sign with you. So to me, great if he goes to AEW, but I still want AEW to build a great farm system so that it's not just relying on the once in a blue moon opportunity of Okada becoming a free agent.
I think that's a great tell that Tony Khan really hypes these things up. He talks about his announcements, the Mercedes Monet, the PLE dedicated to her, basically. There's just so many things that he favors, his new toy, like you mentioned. I think that the biggest thing, though, for AEW it is to, like you mentioned, to build out a thing. And I don't know, man. You just want it to happen, and I think at the same time, it becomes a situation where AEW is just signing people just to keep them away from WWE.
Yeah.
And we want good
WWE has done
wrestling.
that before, though. They used to do that to re-sign their talent, to not use them so that they don't go to AEW.
I would say the biggest tell of it all is that Dolph Ziggler didn't go AEW.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have done really well in AEW. Instead, he goes to free agency, New Japan / TNA Impact. Like, you got to really think about that. Like, why not?
I think he saw. I think he saw the
AEW?
Cardona route, and I think it really interested him
I
to.
think Cardona changed the business for sure.
I think so. I think
I
so
think
too.
a lot of people should watch his YouTube channel. And there was a couple on the Chris Van Vliet interview that he did as well. Phenomenal interview. And as a content creator myself, it's something that I try to figure out. Like, okay, I always say that wrestling and content creating is one and the same. We all have our gimmicks. We all have our attractions. And I think Matt Cardona, which Chelsea Green was asked by Chris Van Vliet, will he ever be in WWE? I hope so. Because it would be like the greatest telling of make it on your own, cash in and cash out at the end of the day. Get your big paycheck and out.
Facts. Shall we start to wrap this up? Just a quick It's Cool segment of the week?
Sure. I'm down.
All right. I'll give my cool segment of the week to WWE's new production. I love that it's feeling more. Well, I think the press conference is the real telling that they're going for a more sports vibe. But I love seeing the athletes come in the parking lot. I love if you've been paying attention and they've been doing like lower thirds as they make their entrance with maybe some sort of interesting fact, like R-Truth when he was making his entrance in the WWE since 2000. When they go to commercial break, like, how the NFL does the those, they'll do like this graphic of a player or the team. They're doing these cool graphics of the wrestler and then go into commercial break. So shout out to the WWE production. It's been real fresh and interesting, even if there's been a couple of hiccups with camera placements not in the right place. There was a weird glitch in the Canadian, at the very least, broadcast of SmackDown, where every time they came back from commercial, Sancho, you'd hear, "Yes, boy." For some reason, there was a loop of the Pretty Deadly theme and Pretty Deadly talking every time they came back for commercial break for like 2 seconds. It's like, okay, somebody in production put this in the mix of like of the music accidentally.
I agree. They've been doing establishing shots too, which I love. Like these kind of swooping, panning shots and showing the crowd and like the wrestlers are down. Like, I love it. My wrestling is cool. It's gonna be easy one. Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee on Monday Night Raw was magnifique. His chicken parm line was hilarious. His interaction with Cody, and like I mentioned, him having his show with wrestlers having opportunity to speak to speak their storyline, to continue promos, and him understanding how to instigate it, how to navigate it, and then bring that to the broadcast, I think is great. He's going to bring fresh eyes. He's going to get the yeet thing over. He's going to do it. He got Nakamura's thing over. I love how they're like, Michael's like, you're not gonna dance anymore for Nakamura. He's like, no, man, this guy's bad. I'm not gonna do it anymore. There's so many good like little things that he's doing that his first couple of weeks were rough, but now that he's like getting back into the groove, it's just gonna get better and better and better. I don't want to see him in the ring though. I think he is too valuable to the brand outside of the ring and at the commentator table than to risk injury in the ring. He was cool to see, and he had great moments in the ring with the Adam Cole, but Pat McAfee is really cool. And I think the more freedom he gets, the more we're gonna get some like, come on, guys, and gals, we gotta remember the Stone Cold stunned, just drinking the beer gif when he's just on floor. Is that kind of stuff not a lot of people in the WWE right now could bring to the table besides like a Logan Paul, where it's like completely off the script.
I hope they use his show. They've done it before with Adam Cole and just recently The Rock, where they can do that thing that we were talking about earlier, blurring the lines of like what's real, what's a work, what's something that happened in the real world of the Pat McAfee show where they're kind of out of character, but now it has all of us wondering, was that in character? Was that out of character? I don't know. I want to see more of that.
I can't imagine what's it like to be like a hardcore football, college football fan, but be like, here goes Pat on his wrestling thing. You know what I mean? Like, at least he's converting. And I would argue Pat McAfee is here's a SAT thing. Pat McAfee is to the WWE is what Taylor Swift is to the NFL.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
More academic stuff from us.
Academic, some Gatsby. Dude, you're getting everything here. You're getting all of your... Yeah, why even go to university? You can just listen to the Wrestling is Cool podcast. Sancho, let's wrap things up. I know you are now diving into the world of professional wrestling content creation. Tell us a little bit about it before we wrap things up.
The buzzer went off and I ran in. My music hit. I have a TikTok reaction wrestling channel as well called Sancho West Wrestling. Someone recommended should it be Sancho Wrestling, but that's too clever for y'all. We got to keep it simple for socials. I got to say the SEO, the search engine would not have liked that. So Sancho West Wrestling on TikTok. I did my first reaction watch party on Monday Night Raw. Yes, I'm competing with Santi. We're going head to head, but in order to be the best, I got to beat the best. I think we're going to raise all waters when it comes down to it. Santi is unrated, uncensored. I'm more family friendly, more PG, just to give you an alternative. I will be for Monday night and SmackDown, things of that sort on Twitch. So twitch.tv/Sancho West. And yeah, Sancho West Wrestling. It's going to be really fun. One thing I wanted to point out, shout outs to Conman for coming by, and shout outs to you, Santi, for reposting the content. But I feel watching wrestling in this way versus like a podcast, I was much more intimate. And it was interesting as well as where I see the allure of watch parties is like I'm gathering a community of people, like you said this like a million times, Santi, and I heard you say it so much, is when you're a wrestling fan, you don't have a place to talk to wrestling with. I don't have a place at home to talk wrestling with. I don't have a place in my city to go to watch wrestling events. I oftentimes watch wrestling alone. And it sucks, to be honest with you. It really does. And that's why I always gravitated toward your stuff, Santi. And I want to form a community of people as well to watch wrestling with. And I hope you watch wrestling alongside with me. And I will watch, I don't know how if I could post Elimination Chamber content, but I will watch Party the PLE. So
make sure you go check it out. We need him to succeed. We need to like engulf him so that he fully embraces the world of professional wrestling content creation. Let me tell you something, Sancho. Once you're in, you are in.
It's fun, man. I like it. It was, like I said, I think it made me much more intimate with it.
It make when I started the watch parties, like I was like, I'm never not doing this for when I watch wrestling again. Like I loved having people to be able to say, oh, that was stupid. Oh, that was awesome. Or just people to be able to geek out about. Cause yeah, like I
used to do this watch parties long time ago.
Yeah.
Before, like long time ago, it just wasn't, the audience wasn't there for it. It was too new. I remember.
Yeah, it was way too niche. Yeah, back then.
I remember people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching Raw. I was like, can we see it? I was like, no. I know that's still the term today, but I was doing it a long time ago. I forgot what was happening on Raw. But at the same time, the product is not as good as it is now. Like WWE is right now.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wrestling is Cool. As always,
Break the Snake Roberts.
If you wanted the episode 3 days early, make sure to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Santi's app. You are getting the Raw reviews, NXT reviews, SmackDown reviews, this podcast 3 days early. We're working on Sancho also bringing in some regular content into the Patreon as well. Trust me, this is going to be the best $5 you've ever spent.
A month. It's easy.
It's so easy. You got this. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wrestling is Cool. Take care and be wonderful people. Hey folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wrestling is Cool. Thank you for making this one of the most successful fan-run wrestling podcasts on the planet. It's kind of crazy to say that. A special thank you to our patrons at the $15 tier who are the producers of the show. So a special thank you goes out to 2022 Benjamin, Abel Rodriguez, Ben Calloway, Blake, Buxo, CB, Cody Cook, Connor Williamson, Crunchy Tomato 20, Dominic McDonald, Gavin Alves, Ileana, Jennifer Johnson, Jonna Reed, Jonathan Daly, Lil Shifu, Lucas Wittenhagen, Mako Mac Gaming, Malik Graham, Manu235, Mason Lont, Michael Glass, Monte Moore, Nicholas Kyle, Ollie, Owen Miller, Papaya King, Reese Dowd, Robert Dalton, Rodolfo Reyes, Ryan Yalovic, Riley Johnson, Squishy, Stucky, Sullivan Mayer, Super Malachi Galaxy, The B-Meister, Tom Lehman, Two Crown, Wesley Simpson, Whip One, Xavier Izquierdo, Yao Parda, Yellow Wonton, and Zergzito. I love that this list keeps getting bigger every week. So again, thank you so much for being a producer on this show, and take care, and we'll see you in next week's